Hello, Rupert.
Uh, Christian, hello.
Yeah, you hear me okay?
Very good. Yes.
Right. Yeah, it looks beautiful where you're at.
It,
So it's been a pleasure joining you this weekend, and I cannot thank you enough for all you're doing. And it's been so profound for me, honestly, and it's really amazing. I don't want to get into all my experiences this weekend. I want to keep it succinctly. So my question pertains to what I can most closely describe as Sahaja Samadhi. Essentially this unceasing recognition of what we are in everyday lived experience. And it is, I see throughout the years that obviously this realization more and more permeates my everyday lived experience. But it still seems that the gripping power of sensory experience and the whole notion of taking form as a particular sense of self is still prevalent. And in some ways, I get this idea or this belief that it has to do with a certain complacency or that perhaps there's not enough investment in this, although I find that this is the most meaningful thing I've ever discovered in my lifetime, and that I have such deep yearning for and love for truth, right? But still, there's this constant uh, going back and forth, if you will, and it is difficult to properly find my everlasting home in the realization that awareness is the substratum and totality of all experience. And so I have a sort of judgment about how I'm showing up for that, because it seems that there is something for an I to do,
okay.
although that is also seen through
Yes.
in the
Okay.
realization, right? But um, it's like what once I have the recognition, let's say I'm riding my
Christian,
bike
try to
outside.
formulate
Yeah,
your questions
yeah,
succinctly. I've got the background. I
yeah,
understand
yeah,
the
yeah,
context.
yeah, perfect. So let's say I'm riding my bike outside. Well, I get something prompts, and it might be a thought, something prompts the recognition that, hey, I'm more than just this experience. I'm aware of this. And it seems that it is the mind that has to prompt the recognition. So I'm wondering, and it's not always like that. So I
Yes.
wonder,
Okay.
is
Okay.
how does it come about, this unceasing recognition, if I continually have to prompt the
Yeah.
mind
I've
to
understood the
return
question.
that? Yeah,
I
yeah,
got
thank
it.
you.
Yeah. And yes, the mind has to, and until it becomes your natural state, then the mind has to prompt the recognition, as you say. It has to
Mm,
remind you. And then you have to make the effort to trace your way back to your true nature, and
mm,
that's a good use of the mind.
yeah.
In time, it you become more and more established in your true nature, and less effort is required to to maintain that until it
Mm,
just becomes your natural condition.
right.
um, if John Smith has been playing the part of King Lear so long that he
Mm,
believes that now he is King Lear, the King Lear will seem to have to make an effort to trace his way back to being John Smith. And he may do that and get the occasional glimpse. Ah, I am John Smith. But then through force of habit, his attention, he will lose himself again in the part of King Lear. And then he'll have to remind himself again and walk
mm,
himself back until another recognition. Oh, of course, I am John Smith. And so there will be this back and forth. But each time he goes back to being John Smith, the old habit of believing he is King Lear is weakened. And as that habit is weakened, he begins to be stable in the felt understanding, I am John Smith, until being John Smith just becomes his natural condition. In fact, he was always John Smith, but he didn't realize
mm,
it. But now John Smith is his natural condition. It's not something he needs to um, take himself back to through self-inquiry or effort, nor does he need to make an effort to maintain himself as John Smith. It's just his natural condition. But until that time, King Lear, the person
Yeah.
John Smith seems to be, has to make the effort, and he should
Mm.
make the effort. Otherwise, he'll
Okay.
just remain King Lear with all his misery and conflict. So it's fine. It's natural, Christian. Um, there are two reasons why you still lose yourself in the character, the individual Christian. One, just force of habit. Just you've been rehearsing it for decades, so it's just natural. And secondly, there may still be some investment of your happiness in the content of experience.
Right.
That's another
Yeah.
reason why you would continually find yourself lost in the content of experience. So those two reasons, force of habit and the investment of your happiness in the content of experience,
Mm.
would be responsible for this always losing yourself
Yeah.
in. So whenever you find, and both are natural, nothing wrong with either of them, but whenever you find yourself lost in the content of experience, either through force of habit or because your happiness is invested in it, make the effort, walk yourself back to your true nature, stay there, and more you'll begin to feel this is just your natural condition, and then no longer
So two
effort.
things arise, if I can interrupt you. So
Yeah.
two things arise. One is that uh, is it possible to exhaust this? You mentioned the second reason for returning back to form in this way may be that I've not fully exhausted the seeking of happiness in form, right? Can you come to a point, like how do you get to a point where that is no longer
Yeah,
the case?
through understanding
Hmm.
uh, Christians who
By
through
recognizing the peace and happiness that is
yeah.
always ever
Well,
present. Yeah.
first of all, um, well, I would suggest that you and everybody, if not, I mean, almost everybody, if not everybody at this gathering, is attending this weekend precisely because their attempt to find peace and happiness in the conventional world has been frustrated sufficiently often, either for you to have understood that it cannot be found there, or at least to have a very strong suspicion that it can't be found there. So you already you're already 90, let's say 90% convinced that fulfillment can't be found in
Yeah.
objective experience. But there may still be, and again, this is very natural,
Mm.
there may be still some residue, some old, maybe not at the level of your mind, but at the level of your
Mm.
deeper, the level of your heart, some
Yeah.
deep-seated belief that fulfillment can be found in an object, a substance, an activity, and a relationship, and so on. What is it that brings that to an end? Understanding, clear seeing.
Yeah.
And what is it that facilitates that understanding, that clear seeing? Recognizing that the nature of your being is peace. It's up tasting that peace and fulfillment that is the nature of your being. That is what is persuasive. So when I say understanding, it's not intellectual reasoning. It's recognizing that happiness is always an interior experience. It's always something you experience within yourself. It's never put in from outside.
Yeah. And so the second thing, very shortly, is I think I see the merit in when we have these meditations deep in it, you invite back the thoughts and memories, all experience. And I sort of imagine myself in everyday experiences in those moments just to see through that, like even in moments where I seemingly forget, I can see from this other vantage point during our meditations that I'm fully there still. Like I awareness is always ever present, even in those
Well,
moments. So
th- that's true,
yeah.
but if it's true in theory, as you say, what's important in experience is that you feel you are that awareness. It's one thing to understand that you are always that, whether you notice it or not. But it's another thing to actually to feel that, and therefore to feel the innate peace. It's one thing to know the sun is always shining. It's another thing to feel the sunlight shining on you all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so it's good that you obviously understand intellectually. Awareness is always present, always shining in everybody all the time, whether they notice it or not. But it's not enough to know that. You have to experience yourself as that from moment to moment.
Mm, thank you.
Nice to see you, Christian. I wish
Nice to see you too. Thank you.